Hello, everyone. It's me again. And today we'll put our focus more into one level deeper for the practical problem solving steps. Remember in the previous video that we discussed earlier on, if you haven't done so, I recommend you to watch it. It discusses about the PDCA cycle on a high level basis, and it also starts um, detailing the list of the 8 steps to practical problem solving. So for today, we'll go for the first and second steps. Okay, so beginning with the clarifying the problem. Well, as an overview, the first step of practical problem solving method is to clarify the problem. Um, Now, this step really has many aspects associated with it. No, first of which is to always protect the customer through containment. Now, this might require applying a so-called band-aid solution, or for the short term, at least until a more permanent solution can be found. So you see, it doesn't really matter how you accomplish this. You might need to throw in people, money, or even inventory to the problem itself. Just do whatever you have to do in order to protect your customers from the problems you're dealing with. Okay. And then, once the problem has been contained as best as possible, it's time to clearly describe the current situation. And in order to do this, guys, we must go to see the problem with our own eyes in order to get the facts. And this will require talking to people throughout the organization in order to better understand the challenges at hand. And you see, the perceived problem may be different, no, depending on who you talk to. So, for example, we have salespeople who may say, we have no product. And then on the next side, we have the planners who say sales is always changing our forecast. And then we have the third group of people, production people, for example, who will say, we need a new machine. The important thing to keep in mind is that all of these things may be true, yet none may be the correct problem statement. No. Okay. So we turn our attention what to ask when clarifying a problem. Um, there are some questions first and foremost that must be addressed as we work to clarify the problem. No. So first we must understand what the ideal situation is. And many times organizations have no idea what good looks like. So before they work to improve things, at least they must determine what success looks like. Okay, and then after this, we understand how solving problem uh, how solving the problem adds value to the customer and the company. Okay, some refer to this as even identifying the burning platform. No, next we must also visualize the gap between the and the idea using things like pictures, some visualizations like charts, graphs, and so on. And then finally, while we're practicing this process of going to see, we must do our best to avoid yes or no questions. So instead, what we do is we should ask open-ended questions. For example, we have the 5W, 1H, which actually stands for what's the problem? Where is it happening? When did this happen? Who does it affect? Why is it a problem? And how did it happen? Now, in terms of answering the question how to write a good problem statement um, is very critical. No, writing strong problem statements, it's an extremely important part really of the practical problem solving methodology. um, First of all, hang on for a moment. um, all right, first of all, problem statements should be focused on the current situation, while clearly identifying the gap. Then also Also, problem statements should be measurable and clear. Um, in other words, using words like a lot or not enough is not really sufficient. No, instead, we need to be clear and state exactly what we're dealing with. And then third, a good problem statement also does not contain a cause or a suspected cause. So for example, guys, assigning the blame for Alpha team's poor on-time delivery to lack of accurate forecast would be an example of a of assigning a potential cause. So we don't wanna do this, okay? So likewise, a good problem statement does not really include a solution. Okay. Now it's often tempting to include both a potential cause and solution in the problem statement, but we must fight the urge, as doing so weakens the overall power of this problem solving process. And then finally, good problem statements are factual in scope. Okay, I have to emphasize that they are factual in scope and short and to direct to the point. Okay. Now, most people like to tell a long story as part of the problem statement when in fact the problem statement itself should ideally be one sentence. So it's okay to add another sentence or two to provide additional background as long as it follows the mentioned do's and don'ts, okay? All right. And then we go over to the next step, which is breaking down the problem. Okay. Well, once it's been recognized that there is in fact a gap or a problem between the current and ideal situations, most probably the reasons for these gaps are as many as well as unclear slash vague. In other words, we may still have quite a lot of work to do before we can single out a specific problem to deal with, no? Okay, so let's spend some time discussing how to go about uh, breaking down a problem. The first step we need to take is to break down and organize the originally large problem into smaller, more concrete problems. Now, there are many ways to organize these smaller problems. However, the most often used principle for arranging them is by asking questions such as, what is the problem? That's one. Where is it happening? When does it occur? And who is it being impacted? Okay. By doing this, we'll be able to break the process down into manageable pieces in order to solve one at a time, as each may be contributing to the overall problem. So in essence, all we're doing here is breaking the problem down in such a way that allows us to move forward effectively and efficiently by focusing on key issues. Um, Something that's very important to keep in mind as well is never to ask why, or I have to emphasize, jump towards causes or solutions, since this will happen soon enough, okay? And then what about points of cause? Now, we've successfully we've successfully broken down the problem down, we'll be in the position then to confirm the facts and determine the points of cause, which describe this where the problem is happening within the process. Okay. Now, in order to be able to identify the point of cause, or in some cases causes, we must try to visualize the process, since where there is an output, there's also a process. And to do this, we can use things like flowcharts and other graphs, as we'll soon see. Okay. Now, what about the tools to break down the problem? Yeah, there are many tools that can help you visualize really the what, when, where, and who have a problem. For example, we have the Pareto diagrams, tree diagrams. We have pie charts and scatter plot diagrams. Next is we prioritize the issues. Once you've really come to identify the primary points of cause, it's time to prioritize the problem. And to do this, there are some questions that will then help us prioritize what problems to attack first, and then second, and so on. So first, we must determine the level of importance. And to do these questions, we ask, for example, we ask how long has this issue existed, and what impact is it having on team members as well as the company. Um, these questions can be asked, no? Okay, and then next, we also must assess the level of urgency by asking questions such as, who does this problem affect? And does it affect the company's key performance metrics? And then finally, we must assess the potential for expansion by asking questions such as, what will happen if we ignore this problem? What could go wrong? Will it stay the same or get worse? And once you and your team have prioritized the problems or issues you're addressing, you've accomplished the primary objective of this second step, and now ready to move on to step 3 of the practical problem solving process. And this one will cover in the next video. So for now, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel down below, and hit the notification bell as well so you get notified of important updates. Thank you, and bye for now.